Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today I have a very special guest for you. This is probably the first one you're going to see on a show like this, but I have Paws. Hey there, Angel.
Hello, guys. How's it going?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just woke up from cryostasis, so.
Okay, so Paws, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start?
Well, most people know I'm an intergalactic space wolf with a charming personality, so to speak. To be fair, I didn't actually start with this particular setup here, but, you know, I do game streaming. I do other things on top of that. Of course, most of it has just been game streaming for now, but we're going to eventually do more. I do stuff for Nintendo Switch. I do, commentary. I usually keep things simple, unscripted. I just like to entertain my audience, whether it's gaming or just commentary on what's going on in the world or whatever. So,
Beautiful.
I'm just, trying to make things go in these hard times, of course.
Absolutely. I understand. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. But before I start, I'm going to give you the same question I ask everybody else on my show. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Paws?
Well, I'm pretty weird. Like, I've got antennas on my head.
All right, I love it.
So that would probably be like 9 or 10.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Okay, so I'm probably throwing my script out. So obviously there's a real person behind this, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is not like just some software.
No, I am not actually a furry. So that's what I get all the time.
I wasn't going to ask that, but how do you do this?
I use a program called FaceRig. It's kind of new technology. They take the VR headset concept of tracking and facial movements and me being able to, dance around with my head and the antennas wiggling and stuff. So it's actually just like you would have in a normal webcam, but it's got VR technology mapped to a facial 3D art software. So.
Okay, so it's tracking your head movement. It's also tracking your mouth, and
eyes,
features, and your eyes. Okay.
Cool. I'm actually looking at the camera right now, and you can see that when I look away, it's like that way. Then I'm looking back at the camera. So it's tracking my facial expressions and everything else too. Obviously, it's limited because being a space wolf, you can't really actually have like the muscle structure of a human being, right?
Right. Was the software expensive?
Actually, to start, it's like $15. You can get it on Steam. There are other programs that do similar things. Some of them are free, but some of them require like specific things. I know there's one that's specifically designed for like iPhone cameras and stuff. So you have to have an iPhone, which for most people aren't going to spend $900 on an iPhone just to make this thing work. So.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind me asking, why the wolf rather than yourself?
Well, I wanted to try something different. There are so many streamers out there, so many would-be gamers, streamers, whatever. They typically like to just show their face. I feel like I didn't want to be exactly the same as everyone else, and I wanted to do something different. And believe it or not, I was inspired by some things called V-streamers. If you look on YouTube and you type in V-streamers, they are typically Japanese anime characters with scripts. They play those characters to the T, and they play video games. And they kind of overlay, hey, what would this character do in this situation? And, it's kind of like I can do more with a character than presenting my physical, normal self, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Okay. So let's say if I wanted to make a cartoon, it'd be much easier for me to make a cartoon out of my character.
Sure. No, absolutely. Now, were like your options limited, or how did you pick the wolf?
The default wolf is actually, I can show you guys a little bit of that on the fly. You might be able to see it in the camera itself. Let me switch to advanced UI here, but avatars. So you have your basic templates like this one right here, which is a raccoon
Okay.
So what you have is the base template, and then you can texture it and do what you want with it. So you've got the basic wolf, which is this one here. Let me see if it'll even show up. No, there it is. There's the basic right there. See how much different it looks compared to mine? I
Okay.
actually took the time to texture myself like that, add some headphones and stuff to make it look kind of silly. And I was actually inspired by an old 80s sitcom character known as Alf. So,
I grew up with Alf. Thank you very much. It's an old
so I wanted to
icon.
do the Alf thing. You know how nobody really knows who's behind the puppet, but you know the voice.
That's right.
I wanted to be recognized as the intergalactic space wolf, you know, who plays video games or commentates on real world events.
Okay, so you're a streamer and you play
Mm-hmm.
video games. How long have you been doing that?
Let's see. Off and on for 10 years to be exact. Officially, it was about a year ago. I started on Facebook gaming.
Okay, why Facebook?
I felt like Facebook was easier to get my name out there. I've been streaming from Twitch and Mixer and all the other channels like YouTube. It's really hard to get an audience when you're somebody as low level as me starting out, and a wild, ambitious idea such as the character you see here would be probably not well known, and their algorithms tend to keep you hidden. So Facebook offers the ability to like join groups and share streams. So if I'm streaming, I can share to, let's say, 30 groups, and your name gets out there organically because you're always in the group tabs. In YouTube, you can't do that. It's all reliant on their little computer algorithm.
Okay. Now, you say about a year and a half ago you went full time. Like, why
Mhm.
did you decide to go full time?
Well, it all started when I came back and met a friend of mine who I lost contact with about 3-4 years ago. They asked me to start streaming with them because they knew I already knew how to stream, and they were asking for like my point of view and how to operate equipment and stuff. So I actually started as a co-streamer with them. I didn't have a personality of any type back then. I was just me talking over gameplay.
Okay.
And then my good friend Mike, which you already know, he's he asked me to take it seriously. Said, "Come up with an idea, let's market it." And I looked around and I saw FaceRig. I'm like, "Hey, I can be a wacky cartoon character," and that's where it started. He decided to get me out to his friends, and his friends got me out into the wild, and I did a little bit more marketing, and there you go.
Beautiful. Okay. So, like, how have you grown in the past year and a half then?
Not as fast as I would like to, but I would say within the year, which was only a couple weeks ago, we had our first year anniversary. I reached about 834 so far on Facebook alone, but my channels on the other ones like Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, because I didn't stop streaming there, they're reaching into the 200s too. So overall, I'm like 1,500 probably,
Very
if I
nice.
were to give an estimate.
Okay. Are you making any money off of it yet?
I would like to, but to be fair, it hasn't gone that way yet because we haven't done anything like merchandise or whatever. It's what we're working on.
Okay. Now, do you have any difficulties being a streamer and not showing your face? Do you get heck for it?
I occasionally get people asking me to when is the face reveal. I guess part of me is like, you know, I have my own personal reasons for it, as well as things like I do want to be able to make this character more than just streaming, and it's much easier to do a character for cartoons and, you know, voice acting and doing all that other stuff. But I have severe personal issues when it comes to how people will perceive me. So in the future, you know, that probably will be a thing the more that I get popular. And when I can guarantee, because I know most people who know me behind the camera will probably more than likely understand my plight when I actually do a face reveal, but I want it to be a big thing. And I don't want people to use that as like a reason to unsubscribe or something like that. So.
Okay. I'll be honest. I was quite shocked when I saw the wolf instead of you. 'Cause we're now friends on Facebook. I know what you look like. So,
Oh yeah.
let's switch over to like other streamers. So you've been doing this for a while. You've been streaming. What advice would you have for someone, say, brand new or doesn't really know what they're doing yet?
Well, you know, the biggest thing is consistency and the drive to do something. If you think you can do it, don't give up on it. I streamed for months and almost years with very little affair. I didn't think I would get this far. But people enjoy the character. They like my brand of humor and my approach to the situation that I've chosen. I can still do what I do and be social with everyone and get on to a, you know, a chill level where I could, you know, interact with somebody without having my own personal looks being a clouded issue, if that makes any sense. This is a different form of issue, obviously, but it's much easier for me to brush off the fact that I'm an intergalactic space wolf than somebody who's overweight or whatever who has anxiety issues of their own self-appearance. But I would suggest if you've got the drive, try it. Do what you can. Hey, you know, if you got an idea, do some research, look into it. Find a program like FaceRig if you have an issue with getting your face out there, and be creative. You got the tools there.
Absolutely. Okay, I'd like to kind of go back. You were talking about Facebook groups and you could post your stream in Facebook groups. Can you talk a little bit more about that for anybody who doesn't know what you mean?
Well, if you create it's free to create a Facebook. Everybody knows that, but you also have things called Facebook groups, which allow you to create a page like you would for like a YouTube streaming channel or whatever. You can sign up, come up with a username. And then when you look in Facebook, you can find other groups like streaming dump pages. You have things like follow for follow, which I started out with, but I don't do very much anymore. I wouldn't recommend, you know, because those typically end up, they give you the initial spike, but most of those follow for follows, they're in it for themselves at the end of the day, which everybody here is trying to be super popular, be the next, you know, PewDiePie or whatever. But you just join groups, create your own group, and then you can attach that name to those groups, and then you can also stream from there using something like streaming software, or even if you're just using a console like a PS4, use the share button. Then you can upload it to that Facebook page, and those people can then go to that page to see your content, and you can interact with them right off the page.
Okay, so basically you're a button away from being able to share your stream with thousands of people potentially.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, so let's talk about you, I mean, the person behind the wolf for a second. This is the Gamerpreneur. So I understand you're currently a gamer, but I want your backstory. Like when did you first start playing video games?
I actually grew up with video games very early on. I am born in '89, so that was the golden age of gaming, the early '90s, in my opinion, with, you know, the Nintendo, and you've got the 64, and then you had the Genesis and their consoles. And I grew up on Mario. My dad was hugely into video games in his early days. He had an old Atari Pong system, you know, one of those wooden systems that you put batteries in, and it's basically an overlay on a TV screen. But we grew up with Nintendo, Mario specifically, in the '90s.
Okay, very nice. And what kinds of things are you playing now?
I play games that are typically, I would consider not the big three. The big three right now, obviously, you got Fortnite, you got all those competitive games trying to do the same thing. I like to play classic games. I like to play indie games. Like right now, our big streaming game right now is Predator Hunting Grounds. I'm a huge Predator fan, obviously. I typically don't talk about that on gaming, but people enjoy the fact that I have a passion for the Predator franchise. So the game is not AAA, but we play it. We have fun. I've played Resident Evil. I also grew up with that in the 90s as well. Scared the hell out of me. So you gotta play what you love, right?
It sounds like survival horror is your thing then.
Kind of, sort of. I like survival horror because they're simple. They're simple, entertaining, and it gives me a lot to work with when it comes to making jokes like grotesque creatures. I can crack jokes about how, grotesque they are, or, I like to occasionally talk about strawberry jam. So.
All right, so you're just a little bit younger than I am, so you've had the same gamut of games I've played. What is your all-time favorite game?
All-time favorite game, I would have to say, between Sonic or BanjoKazooie.
Ooh, okay. Those are like totally different worlds. Why between those two?
I remember playing BanjoKazooie with my sister. She's only 5 years older than me, and she loved things like Mario 64. And BanjoKazooie was like taking Mario 64 and expanding on that to a much larger scale. And to live in those worlds, they were like really sandboxy games. I would consider them the early beginnings of like open world games that you get nowadays with, Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War. It was just beautiful, big 3D worlds you can move around in. And Sonic was equally as big, but super frantic and fast paced. And it was just enjoyable games, they took skill.
Beautiful. Lovely. Okay. So let me ask this. What do you do in real life? Is it just full-time streaming, or do you do anything else on the side?
Oh, I do college. I'm a college student.
Okay. Fantastic. What are you studying?
I am studying networking engineering.
Oh, you poor person.
So I'm probably going to be those people dealing with all the networking stuff to video games, or just, most jobs nowadays require a network specialist to come in, create these gigantic, like, wide area networks and, keep them connected and keep their data safe. So I'm those people. I'm probably going to be the person behind doing patchwork and whatnot, the people that everybody hates, balancing reasons.
Okay. And you haven't been in school like this whole time since you graduated high school, because if so, you're Van Wilder, like on steroids. So
no, I actually started 3 years ago.
You went back to school here.
Well, I hit some hard times. I didn't start with a lot. It's because of schooling that I was able actually to invest in my streaming equipment and get started here in Facebook gaming and stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So my next question, I always ask everybody if I can humble them. And I'm kind of already touching on that with you, because I don't want everybody to think that you're just this awesome, wonderful, amazing person 100% of the time. We all have issues. And if we can face those issues and tell other people about the issues, then they can learn from us. So what is something that you have failed at, and how did you overcome it?
I have social issues. I am not, believe it or not, I'm not very sociable. I never was. I have ADHD. I was branded with Asperger's syndrome at a very young age, so my ability to communicate with people is actually due to the fact that I went into streaming and I learned how to communicate with people via that way. So I don't actually connect with people on a personal level to an easy extent, but over the years I've learned to just cope, and I haven't had to have any medication or anything for many, many years. So I would say that I made progress, and that anybody with any issues can overcome and do what they love to do.
Absolutely. And you're doing fantastic with me, so no worries. Okay, let's go back to your stream if we can. Let's talk about your community. What's your community like?
Well, they're all pretty diverse people, and they also have great personalities. I have very great supporters. They're not mean people. We occasionally get the usual trolls that come in. That's with every stream. You're always going to have some bad egg trying to derail everything. But for the most part, we're fun-loving communities. We talk to each other. We're almost like friends or a family. That's why I call them the Crewbies. We also have people who don't speak English who do come by on a regular and do their best to communicate with us, and they really do appreciate my down-to-earth personality and the fact that I actually interact with the fan base, because there are plenty of streamers out there, but there are apparently a void of streamers that don't actually interact with their audience as much as I think they should.
Yes, there are. There's millions of them. So, good chat or bad chat in total?
I would say most of the chat is great. Like, you would think that I would have more problems. I get the occasional person coming in, and like I mentioned before, asking if I'm a furry, and I make a joke, and somehow I've actually gotten people who ask that, and then they completely change their tune. You know, they came in here expecting to troll and get a response out of me, and the response that I gave them earned my respect from them. So,
okay, wonderful. Now, what's the best compliment you've ever received from your chat?
That they love the the comedy that I bring, and they love the wolf avatar. And one particular that I remember is a good friend of mine who keeps coming in here on the streams, and he's Alvin. He's always encouraging me to keep going, even when things are like, really small. Like sometimes we'll have a stream, nobody's talking. It seems like there's nobody talking, and he's always there encouraging me to interact with him. And sometimes it's like, well, he likes the fact that I continue to keep on going, keep things running in a brisk pace, and they want me to continue to make content for them. So.
Okay, fantastic. Now, on the flip side, I know we talked a little bit about the trolls, but what's the worst trolling you've received?
We had one issue when I was playing BDO, I think. We had a raid party come in. The worst trolling, I think, was the fact that they thought I was a femboy, and they used that terminology, and, that's very derogatory stuff, but it didn't bother me. I tend to downplay it, and I change it with humor. I roll that around, or I don't engage that. We have a no harassment policy, so I usually have some mods to deal with that right away. But you get the occasional homophobic slurs, the racial stuff. Yeah, I think that's probably the worst I've gotten.
It seems a little odd since you're a wolf.
I know it's weird, but.
Okay. Now, kind of stepping back from just your community, what's the general community of streamers on Facebook like?
The general community has been pretty welcoming. I've met 3 or 4 streamers throughout my time there, and they are always, it's like a family. Like I said, they come in, they support my channel, even if they don't stay. They click the like button, they share it to their pages, which in turn gets, if they have like 5,000 subscribers, that's 5,000 extra people that just got your name out there. So.
Okay, so angelpaws, how do people find you? Where are you at on social media?
I'm on Facebook at angelpaws gaming. You can just put Facebook/angelpaws gaming. You can go to Mixer. It's all easy to find. If it's Mixer, then it's probably underscores between angel, paws, and gaming. And then we've got YouTube, which is a little bit more different, but that's because my account's like 10 years old. So the name was much different back then. VUHRAST. I know the name is weird, but I can't change it. YouTube won't let me. So.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else you want to talk about, or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
Well, I just want to say that people should continue to follow their dreams. I didn't think I could make it as far as I did with my social anxiety and my background being kind of a shambles. I got to school late. I didn't have very many jobs beginning. So even if you think you can't do it, push forward. Even if you don't stream video games, come up with an idea, put it out there on Facebook. You might actually be surprised at the response.
Wonderful. All right. Well, angelpaws, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. On that note, I'm going to tell you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur. Hey, if you like this podcast, I'd love to invite you to check out a little bit more about me, Dr. Bradford Carlton, Gamerpreneur. If you go to my website, www.thegamerpreneur.com/bonus, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, The Warcraft of Business, where I explain my history in both gaming and business and how I brought the two together in order to create some very successful companies and help a lot of people. And all you got to do is pay for shipping and processing, and I'll send you this book. I absolutely know you're going to love it. All right, you all take it easy.